Hello, and welcome to the second part in the area of first steps in facade construction. In the first part, we brought this facade into the high cut with LogiKal and addressed the rails. The post layout has been changed. The post entries have been modified, and now in the next step I would like to start the division of the facade and the area of the part drawing. I will again, just like in the first video, try to stay around the 20-minute mark, and we will simply see how many parts there will be. So, to define the combination, now I have already created the facade in the first step. I can also create a section view right here, which means I can draw a section line. In this case, I simply want to create a section with a certain depth. I could also specify limits, but I don't need to do that here. I can create a section here, and in this section I could continue working and construct my further details, connections, facade, and everything else. However, I also want to be able to use this section immediately so that I have my detail view right away. For this, I will use external referencing to build my facade here. We have just created our overall model in the project, and I want to start this division. Fundamentally, when working with external referencing, the most important point is always the world coordinate system. I can set this here by right-clicking on the world coordinate system. You can see it immediately on the globe. And now I can choose which parts I want to externally reference. In this case, I would like to externally reference the complete structural assembly construction kit. That means I right-click on the construction kit. Here, I select the command reference part and get this dialog. Here I can say that I want to externally reference and create a part drawing. In this case, the part drawing does not refer to a workshop drawing, meaning a single part, but rather the selected part. In this case, the construction kit. I would like to save this in the database with a new item master, and for the document I want to enter the name myself. I simply say OK. To that, now I come to the item mask. For me, it is always set up so that the name of the part is automatically passed to the standard designation. That means, with the green item mask, it is usually the case that I simply confirm with OK. Now I get the query whether this part is going to be relevant or not. I obviously don't want that in this case. Here I receive the suggestion for the name of the body file of this geometry, and I simply give BAU as the name. I will also copy this text here, and now I get the name for the HiCAD construction, which is externally referenced, and I will paste the same name in here. I can still choose here whether it should be a positioning model or not. I will define this in further steps, as I do not know this yet. In terms of the construction kit, I will certainly not create a construction phase for the drawing. So, now I have these two files saved in HELiOS. One is the so-called K, which is the geometry file, as you can see from the name and the symbol, and the other is the file where this is contained. You have to imagine it like this. When I open this construction kit, I have everything that was in the overall construction under pause. In other words, if I make a change to the model, here it will also be transferred to the other construction. I will just make a change here and add something. That is, I will simply add a second door here because I will define this dimension using HCM. I will delete this dimension and say that this edge and this edge should be the same. I will just create an opening here. Now I have added a second door to this wall. If I switch to the overall model now, I get a message that something has changed here and whether I want to update it, which I naturally do. And when I am in the overall model, I can immediately see that this second door is also connected in the overall model. I want to delete this opening again, so I right click and say delete. And again, if I go to the subordinate model, it is also here. This means that no matter which file you make a change in, everything will be updated in every file. Now I will go back to my overall model where I want to do the same with my facade. That means I look at the world coordinate system and take this name here, copy it, and start the external referencing again. So that means if you look at it again in HELiOS, you have additional options for the facade. You can of course adjust these tabs so that only the relevant data is displayed, which I have also done here. This means that the body files that you don't actually work with are no longer displayed. Now, the next consideration I will make here is that I will later draw in another door, which also falls under the facade category. This means I will create another sub-assembly, a structure per group, a complete facade, where I will simply subordinate this logical position and also reference it externally. Most will naturally be wondering why I have divided this up like this, since I will have many different trades. In the end, I will also have many detail sections, cuts, views, and all sorts of things. And to keep everything up to date in various areas, I naturally don't want to work with too many sheets, because that makes the drawing cumbersome. Therefore, I have referenced this to bring in the individual elements into my drawings, meaning I can incorporate each external reference into the drawings and edit them more specifically. To do this, I am now creating a new construction. I make sure that my project is active. In this case, it is not, which means I can activate my project by selecting it here, hide the subordinate elements, and in this case I have a facade where I have activated my project to avoid it being in the wrong project. This means you can see here that this is my facade, and I would like to use my detail drawing, which I have set up here. This should immediately be given a name, which means detail. Year 1 is sufficient. I would also like to assign a name here, so that even when I open it, I can immediately see the name here. You can already see that a name has been generated here. This means that when I look at this in HELiOS, my drawing number has already been automatically generated. It is set up in such a way that when I write 01 here, the project number is added before the number. Furthermore, my PDF would already be in the background, which in this case is still empty because nothing is available yet. So now I would like to work in this construction. To do this, I can right-click here to insert an item from the database. In this case, I only say search and can insert my construction site here. Right-click twice, as you can see here, and this model will be inserted at the same location as the original model. I can continue working here easily. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I want to create this entrance facade and also a door here. However, in detail 1, I want it to be just a detail of this facade. That means basically I am simply not interested in this door in any further regard. Therefore, I can specifically reference this entrance facade externally here, and I can bring into the construction and only have this entrance facade in this construction. I always handle it in such a way that I do not manage this together with the main assembly, which is why I always keep it outside of the main assembly. Essentially, I still have the same model here as the overall model. Now I can simply switch to my view here, that is, to my sheet area, and I can easily generate my view drawing right here. Now, I can basically say right here that I have a higher main scale. That means I will set the scale to 1:50 and bring a drawing frame in here. I would like to have an A0 frame, which means I often handle it in such a way that I simply have a small overview somewhere in the corner. And now I just have to decide where the first detail should be located. This means that my first detail will be a horizontal section that is in this area. In this case, I will define a new section view where I say I want to create my section in this area. Here is where my section will be created. I can also set the depth limit in this case, which means it goes 1 meter down from this section. That is sufficient for me in this case. I can also specify whether the section should be limited, which I will now check, and simply create it. Here, a preview is already defined showing where my section would appear. This means that in this case, the section would define the section path in terms of width, and I could also limit this section in depth by saying I only want to display the section in this area. Of course, I could also enlarge this section in this area, and I can change this at any time later. You can see here that I immediately have my section view. I am, of course, placing this here on the shaded view, and in this case, I have my section. This can, of course, be limited at any time by right-clicking here again, because I just noticed that I have taken up too little space at this depth, and can thus also represent the area again. What I would like to do now is to create my detail view in this case. And here, in this case, my first detail will be this area. I want to define the initial view, which also includes the name. I want to assign a scale here, and with Create, I can place my first detail here. So, I see here in this particular scenario, in this case the scale is slightly 2.5. In this specific instance, I may have overdone it a bit more with the frame, so let's just take a 1 frame, which will be completely sufficient here. This means you can see my facade here. My section can, of course, also represent the section view correctly, or display the view correctly. This measurement is a bit of a matter of taste, depending on how everyone wants it. I would say that while constructing, generally speaking, I often leave the shaded view because I only need it properly at the end. Here, everything I write will be taken by HELiOS. This means that if I were to go in here and say this is now my horizontal section from the side, as you can clearly see, I have written my notes here. When I either reopen it or save it, it will be automatically adopted. And when I look further in the healers, then depending on what is set. For me, it is set to be generated upon release. That means I would like to show this briefly here. I can define this under configuration. These are the external manufacturing documents, and for the general documents, this is established during review and approval. I will simply change this to create and update, which means that if I go here, this should have already happened. It might only be possible that it has to be in HiCAD Neustadt, but in this case, you can already see that I have my current PDF here. It is often established during review and approval to save additional time. Otherwise, the PDF would be generated every time it is saved, which usually does not provide any benefit. So, why have I done this again? This means I have more targeted options where I can work more specifically. I will just do something here. I want to create a dimension here in the process. I will just load my settings beforehand, ensuring that everything is configured correctly for the task at hand. Basically, I want to know the value from this edge to that edge, which is crucial for maintaining the integrity of the design. This means I have to adhere to some value that the architect specifies, as these values are critical for the overall structure and aesthetic. I now simply decide that the 59 I have here should be 120, because that is how the architect has defined it for me, ensuring consistency with the architectural plans. Of course, I can choose it myself, so I just select the facade and can directly choose in the section, for example, that I want to move the facade. This process involves careful consideration of the design elements and their alignment. I want to relate this glass front edge to this edge, which is a key aspect of the design. You can now see that the 59 is displayed, and I simply enter 120 in this case, following the architect's guidelines. Now this facade is shifted outward to 120, which means you can see here that it is reflected in this section as well, demonstrating the dynamic nature of the design process. Now I will also go into the complete construction where everything is included, providing a comprehensive view of the project. Of course, I get the message built up, and I also want to do this in the section again, ensuring that all elements are accurately represented. This means I create a section here, no matter where I place it, and I naturally have the same effect, which is crucial for maintaining consistency across the design. I will set another dimension just to show it, highlighting the flexibility and precision of the design process. This means that no matter where I do this, it is always immediately up to date in every detail and every section, ensuring that the design is always current and accurate. Thus, I will also generate my details
and define further edits and sections, allowing for continuous refinement and improvement of the design.
So, this would now just be the end of the second part. In the next part, I will add brackets and base brackets. We will add brackets in the next detail, or in the next video here. And then I would like to hand these brackets or these modifications back to the LogiKal aspect. And then in turn, the details and sections will continue to expand.